was awesome. I think it has been marred by how they've chosen to celebrate it. I love what they did 50 years ago. I really don't like how they've spent the last 49 years celebrating other people who can't do it.
So what really bothers me is every time these unqualified, wildly unqualified hires happen, nobody wants to give it the attention that it deserves when we're talking about black head coaches.
That's right.
And that's the Raider way.
These people give me headaches, honestly. Welcome back to Sports Done Right. I'm your host, Hunter Wright. I am not joined today by my co-host and brother, Chase, but hopefully y'all came to see me anyway. If you enjoyed the new Sports Done Right intro, then please leave a thumbs up in the comment section and like the video. Hopefully you were already planning on liking the video. We're going to give you rapid fire news, and we're going to bring you to the news of the last unbeaten team in the NFL has been beaten. Jeff Saturday has been named the interim head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, and despite all the criticism, he is undefeated after 1 week on the job. Josh McDaniels is reportedly not on the hot seat in Las Vegas, which defies all sports logic whatsoever. And then we will be crowning the offensive and defensive players of the week. As always, like, comment, share, subscribe, help us grow the channel. Before we get into the fun stuff, unfortunately, we will be touching on the tragedy that happened in Charlottesville, Virginia. The shooting that resulted in the deaths of 3 UVA football players, Devin Chandler, Deshaun Perry, and Lavelle Davis Jr. The shooting occurred on Sunday in a parking garage on campus after a field trip. These 3 students were unfortunately killed. 2 other students were injured. The shooter is reportedly a former football player for the University of Virginia on the 2018 team. So prayers go up to all those affected by the shooting. The school canceled its final home game of the season after what occurred. And it's just a senseless act of violence that, well, like I said, it was senseless. There's just no need for something like this. But Cooper Kupp has been placed on injured reserve. He will miss at least 4 weeks following ankle surgery. Cooper Kupp last season recorded the famous Triple Crown when he led the NFL in receptions, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns. He has had a drop-off in production so far this year, as has literally everybody else on the Rams roster. His yards per game has gone down from 114.5 to 90.2. His receptions per game has dropped off just slightly, 8.5 down to 8.2, 8.3 rather. But the entire team has struggled to overcome this Super Bowl hangover, as it were. And moving on from one injury to another, Denver Broncos linebacker Aaron Patrick is now suing the NFL. He filed a lawsuit on Tuesday naming defendants, including the NFL and ESPN, as well as the Los Angeles Chargers, citing negligence that allegedly resulted in injury. Now, it was on October 17th during the Broncos road game against the Chargers, where Aaron Patrick was running along the sideline. His momentum carried him out of bounds. And once he ran out of bounds, he collided with a stadium employee. He grabbed his knee after the awkward collision and it was discovered that he had torn his ACL. Evidently, when Patrick's momentum carried him out of bounds on the play, he ran into the sideline worker and ended up stepping on a rubber mat where his cleats became caught, and that resulted in the ACL tear. Now, language of the lawsuit says, upon stepping on the mat, Patrick's cleats became lodged in the mat and / or the cords / cables running underneath that caused Patrick's left knee to contort, causing Patrick to fall awkwardly. The lawsuit reads, as a result of the awkward fall, plaintiff, aka Patrick, suffered a severe injury. Patrick will lose out on $370,000 in base salary, plus an additional $200,000 to $400,000 in bonuses and incentives. This injury does put his entire career at risk. ACL tears are more than just season-ending injuries; they can be career enders if they're not treated right. They're severe enough. Sometimes you just never fully bounce back from an ACL tear. It seems like a cash grab to me, but I can't fully blame the guy. So, best of luck to Aaron Patrick. I hope he gets what he's looking for here. A $660,000 contract with the Broncos has been left null and void. He's seeking damages in $12.5 million. Now, I want everybody to look at your screen. Look at this catch by Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison Sr. was one of the greatest receivers in NFL history. Hall of Fame wide receiver for the Indianapolis Colts. His son, Marvin Harrison Jr., is a standout wide receiver for the Ohio State Buckeyes. I've been keeping my eye on him all year long, and he has not disappointed. During the Ohio State Buckeyes' 56-14 victory over Indiana, Marvin Harrison Jr. caught 7 passes for 135 yards and a touchdown. He also had an 18-yard run, but this catch is just beyond description, beyond comprehension, beyond praiseworthy. Look where his left leg is. Look at the angle that his body is leaning, and then look at how he somehow manages to get his right foot down in bounds on the sideline while the rest of him is almost horizontal going out of bounds. He has the wherewithal and athleticism to get that one foot down, which in college you only need one foot down. You don't need both feet, just one. That is an incredible catch by Marvin Harrison Jr. So kudos to him. Now, the last unbeaten team in the NFL has been beaten. Unfortunately, the Philadelphia Eagles' loss on Monday night stings a little more because it can be argued they should not have lost this game. The referees, you never want the referees to be involved in the outcome of a game. But that's what happened. On this play, on this fumble by the Eagles, there is a clear face mask penalty. Look at the right corner of your screen. A clear face mask that the refs did not call that results in the turnover, and Washington put the Eagles away 32-21. It is unfortunate that this is the way that the game ended, but every team in professional sports knows one of the keys to winning: don't put the fate of the game in the officials' hands. Don't put yourself in a situation to have to rely on a good call or a bad call. So, it's unfortunate. but the Eagles are undefeated no longer, which means that the 1972 Miami Dolphins remain the only perfect team in NFL history. Which brings us to Kyle Brandt. Now, personally, I kind of like Kyle. I enjoy his takes at times. I think he makes very good points more often than not. However, his opinion on the 1972 Dolphins is one that I cannot go along with, I cannot support. I strongly, vehemently disagree with. Now, for anybody who doesn't know, the surviving members of the 1972 Dolphins team always throw a party and they pop champagne bottles every time the last unbeaten team in the NFL loses, because it means that they remain the only perfect team in NFL history. It is a tradition that has kept the team together over the years, is a reason for them to all meet up once a year, at least once a year, to celebrate their accomplishment, to celebrate their place in history, to see each other again, to remember the good times. But Kyle Brandt takes issue with that celebration. These are his comments on Good Morning Football.
Can I say my piece on this? I think it's awesome what the 72 Dolphins did. It's so cool. And especially the fact that they did it when it was just a different league and a different sport, and the training and the medicine, the doctors weren't as sophisticated, and the goalposts were on the goal line. It was awesome. I think it has been marred by how they've chosen to celebrate it. I love what they did 50 years ago. I really don't like how they've spent the last 49 years celebrating other people who can't do it. I was raised on Chris Berman, and I just remember on Sundays, finally, when the last undefeated team would lose, whoever it may be. I remember one time it being the Trent Green Chiefs, and just all these undefeated teams. Berman would show the highlight and then go right to the clip of the 72 Dolphins literally toasting champagne because another team lost. Always rubbed me wrong when I was a younger man. It still rubs me wrong now. I just think it goes against everything you do as an athlete, as a coach, as a human being, is to root for your successors, root for them to do what you did, and all the joy that it's brought to your life, that they can have it, and their families can have it, and young fans can have it, and to secretly say, "That's my Brexit, fine," but to go on camera and literally celebrate another team losing because they couldn't do what you did, I think it's bad form. And I could line up the people, the greats over the years, who have done the exact opposite. You want to talk Oscar Robertson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Gordie Howe, Pele, you name it, have passionately supported, even campaigned for their successors to beat their marks. Phil Jackson even. Warriors, I hope they get 73 wins. Great team. Love Steve Kerr. Steph Curry's. I hope they do it. Even more contemporary examples. Michael Strahan has a sack record. He's begging somebody to beat it. I'd love someone to do it. Justin Jefferson came out. I set the rookie record. I hope my guy Jamar Chase beats it. You know what the worst part is, too? I think the 72 Dolphins had just done their thing, just laid back. They would have this mystique about them, and they'd be cool and chic. Oh, those are the 72 guys. They never lost a game. They're the only team. They don't talk about it much, but when they show up, it's really cool. And instead, they have chosen this sort of pro wrestling heel meets used car salesman persona, and that's their choice. And I really respect what they did in 72. I really don't respect what they've done in the last 49 years since then.
Now, Kyle Brandt is entitled to his opinion, and I'm entitled to mine. And my opinion is, suit up or shut up, Kyle. Honestly. I mean, really, you're going to complain about them popping champagne to celebrate their amazing accomplishment that has never been duplicated, never been replicated, never been done before, never been done since. Probably would never happen again. The NFL is just too freaking competitive. No team is ever going to do what the Miami Dolphins did in 1972. Now, if anything tarnishes the undefeated season, it would be the quality of opponent that the Dolphins faced in 1972. They had a historically soft season for a team vying for an undefeated record. Their quality of opponents that they faced, the number of opponents they faced that had winning records or losing records, it leans more to the losing record side. They didn't have a very tough schedule. But you know what? They also had to play the majority of the season with a backup quarterback. But if anything were going to undermine their accomplishment, if anything were to taint, that accomplishment, then it would be their schedule and the opponents that they faced. Who cares how they celebrate? I get you wanted to get that off your chest. That was your opinion. Nobody cares. Nobody cares if you take issue with the way that they choose to celebrate their accomplishment that no one has ever done before. Honestly, Kyle. And it's a celebration. And it's not a celebration of, oh, look, another one bites dust. Oh, look, another team failed. It's not celebrating failure. It's celebrating their accomplishment, that they're still the only ones to do it. Do they hope that other teams lose? Yeah, sure. But you know what? It was the 1970s, Kyle. They didn't do jersey swaps in the 1970s. There wasn't all this hugging and kissing after games. In the 1970s, if you met an opposing player at midfield after the game, it was to throw hands. You didn't support other teams. You didn't root for guys on other teams. There was your team. There was your team and your teammates. And then everyone else was the enemy. Yeah, you might hang out with them during the off season, but during the regular season, they're the enemy. You don't fraternize with them. You don't root for them. You watch the game just to study film. That's the way the NFL was in the 70s. And you want to bring up Justin Jefferson and Michael Strahan rooting for guys to break their records. Well, let's look at those examples, shall we? Justin Jefferson said, "I hope Jamar Chase breaks my record." Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase both went to LSU. They're friends. So, yeah, it's a lot different to say, "I hope that my friend from my alma mater breaks my record," as opposed to saying, "I hope some rando from God knows what university on a division rival that I play twice a year breaks my record." No, he was rooting for his friend to break his record. That's different. And Michael Strahan wants somebody to break his record for most sacks in a season. The record that a lot of people think should have an asterisk because Brett Favre laid down and played dead and gave Strahan that last sack to break the record. Let's be honest, that's not to undermine Michael Strahan's accomplishment whatsoever. Michael Strahan was a great player. Michael Strahan earned every single one of those sacks. He even got into the backfield to tap Favre's shoulder while he was on the ground. He still had to get in the backfield for that, but Brett Favre laid down. You can watch the video. Brett Favre laid down for Strahan, gave him the record. Now, he didn't do that specifically to give him the record. He did that so that he wouldn't get his head taken off by Michael Strahan. But you talking about that record? That's the record that he hopes somebody breaks? You know who else wants someone to break his record? Peyton Manning's got a record that he is dying for somebody to break. Most interceptions ever by a rookie. Most interceptions ever thrown by a rookie quarterback. That's a record that Peyton Manning holds. He's dying for someone to break that record. Every year he wants someone to break that record. What a great guy. Don't complain about the way the Miami Dolphins, the surviving members of that team, choose to celebrate their accomplishment. It's not like Don Shula has voodoo dolls of all 32 coaches in the NFL. That he does unspeakable things to those voodoo dolls to make sure that no team ever goes undefeated. That's not what's happening. I don't care if the 72 Dolphins want to hold a seance so that they can party with the members of the team that are no longer with us today. I don't care how they celebrate their accomplishment. It doesn't undermine what they did. So honestly, Kyle, Get over it. Now, that's just something that I had to get off of my chest. Now, the Indianapolis Colts fired Frank Reich after a 3-5-1 start to the season. And owner Jim Irsay named Jeff Saturday the interim head coach. Now, this resulted in a lot of backlash, mainly because Jeff Saturday has never coached in the NFL before. He wasn't an assistant coach, he wasn't a position coach on the roster or on the coaching staff. He has never coached in the NFL. He wasn't a coach in college. Jeff Saturday was a TV personality who was coaching high school football. But he also happened to play center for the Colts during their heyday in the Peyton Manning years, and he was a multi-time Pro Bowler and one of the best players in franchise history, so he also had that going for him. Jeff Saturday, earlier in the season, actually tweeted, "The Raiders look horrible," and he was named head coach of the Colts, and his first game was against the Raiders, and he won. Jeff Saturday, with a team in shambles, with a quarterback on his last legs, with all this scrutiny and with his utter lack of experience, beat the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, a lot of people have been calling out Jim Irsay for this hire. Now, Jim Irsay is just nuts in general. He is. He promised 2 Lombardis for the Colts franchise in this decade, the 2020s. They're going to win 2 Lombardis. With who at quarterback are you going to win 2 Lombardis? You're not winning 2 Lombardis with your rent-a-quarterback strategy. Who's going to be the coach for these Lombardi winning teams? Going to be Saturday? Saturday is not your long-term answer. Saturday is a bridge coach. Saturday is a filler. Naturally, a lot of people took issue with Jeff Saturday's hiring, such as Joy Taylor, who, and this is one of the reasons why I hated the Jeff Saturday hire. There was nothing against Jeff, and no one should be throwing jabs at Jeff. It's not his fault. He had nothing to do with this. He didn't even apply. He got a call out of the blue from the owner, gave him the opportunity of a lifetime. He took it. What was he supposed to do? So people should not be mad at him. Be mad at the guy that made the decision. But I knew when Jeff Saturday got hired, we were going to hear, well, it never would have happened if Jeff Saturday were a black man. And that is exactly what Joy Taylor had to say. She had to play the race card. I knew somebody would. I guess she's trying to be the female Stephen A. Smith minus the charisma. And to her credit, she made some good points. A lot of times when black coaches get passed over for jobs, one of the reasons that are cited is they have a lack of experience. That's something that they get told a lot. Fair point. Here's a white guy with no experience, but I guess he's drinking buddies with the owner. Look, don't hold what Jim Irsay does against the entire league. This is one guy making a decision. He is not representative of the league as a whole. It never would have happened if it were a black guy. When the Carolina Panthers fired Matt Rule, they named Steve Wilks the interim head coach, and Steve Wilks is a black man. Now, the whole "we need more black coaches in the NFL" argument is one that I have never understood. Just because, how many exactly do you need? How many do you want? You want 6? I mean, I believe right now there's 4. How many do you want? 6, 8, 10? Do you want an even split? Honestly, what difference does it make? I don't care. I personally don't care if all 32 coaches in the NFL are black. I don't care if all 32 coaches in the NFL are white. I don't care if all 32 coaches in the NFL are Hispanic. I don't care if all 32 coaches in the NFL are from 32 different countries. I do not care. What I care about is that the teams are going to hire someone that they feel fits their team, fits their vision of the future. Like, what kind of offense does he run? What kind of defense does he run? Is he an authoritarian? Is he a player's coach? Those are the questions that I want to know. I don't care about the color of your skin. I don't care about your ethnicity. I don't care about any of that. How well do you fit the job? That's what I want to know. And by the way, evidently, if this had been Reggie Wayne, we wouldn't be having this conversation, or at least Joy Taylor wouldn't be having this conversation. She said, well, if you were going to hire someone with no experience that's completely underqualified, what about Reggie Wayne? Reggie Wayne, the receivers coach for the Colts. He's never been a head coach, never been an assistant coach, never been a college coach. He's just a position coach on the coaching staff. He was a multi-time Pro Bowler and All-Pro as a player for this franchise. Well, maybe he didn't have enough beers with Jim Irsay. Who knows? And that brings us to Mark Davis and Josh Daniels, the owner of the Las Vegas Raiders and the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, aka one of the most disappointing teams in the NFL in 2022. Now, Las Vegas Raiders owner Mark Davis recently made some comments about head coach Josh McDaniels, which I have actually yet to read beyond the headline because I anticipated this being a load of BS and figured why not read it on the show. Now, Raiders owner Mark Davis says head coach Josh McDaniels is doing a fantastic job amid the team's 2-7 record. A fantastic job of what, Mark? As far as Josh goes, I have no issues, Davis said. I'm getting to know him a lot better. When you sign someone to a contract, don't you expect him to fulfill the contract? Usually, yes, but we've seen coaches get fired mid before completing one-year contracts before, so it wouldn't be entirely unprecedented. I like Josh. I think he's doing a fantastic job. Again, I have to ask, fantastic job of what? That's why I hired him. We did an exhaustive search and found the person we believe is going to bring the Raiders to greatness. Life isn't static, it's fluid. You want to win at the end of the year and be the one holding the trophy. Obviously, we're not there yet. I know it's frustrating for the fan base. I feel for them. I'm a fan as well. When asked specifically if he believes McDaniels is the long-term answer at head coach, Davis replied, why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't you? Well, look at it this way. Josh McDaniels is supposed to be an offensive genius. He comes from the fabled Bill Belichick coaching tree. He has not had much success as a head coach in his previous ventures. And also, you brought in the best receiver in the NFL, reunited him with his college bestie, quarterback Derek Carr, and yet somehow you're 2-7. The offense is sputtering. The entire team is sputtering. The team is in chaos. Everyone's turning on each other. You got said receiver calling out the team in press conferences and also assaulting cameramen. I mean, you don't think that the coach has kind of lost the team at this point? I sure do. I don't think he's doing a fantastic job of anything. But that's my opinion. Now, our offensive and defensive players of the week. But first, we have an offensive player of the week runner-up, Christian Watson. Now, during the Packers' 31-28 overtime victory over the Dallas Cowboys. Christian Watson caught 4 passes for 107 yards and 3 touchdowns. I've been saying for a long time that the Packers need to get Christian Watson the ball, that he is an extremely underutilized member and asset in this offense. Now, on social media, NFL on Fox reported that Green Bay Packers rookie receiver Christian Watson recorded a hat trick and became the first rookie since 1978 to score 3 receiving touchdowns in a game. I could not help but correcting them. But he is the first Packers rookie to record 3 receiving touchdowns in a game. Now, evidently, they said that on the broadcast, but they did not make that clear in the graphic. So, like I said, I could not help but correct them. Do better, Fox. That's all I'm saying. Now, the Offensive Player of the Week goes to Justin Jefferson for, first of all, making the greatest catch I've ever seen ever in football. 10 catches, 193 yards, a touchdown. This beautiful one-handed catch between 2 defenders on 4th and 18 to keep the Vikings in the game. The Vikings would defeat the Buffalo Bills and improve to 8-1. Part of that is thanks to our Defensive Player of the Week, Patrick Peterson. He recorded 4 tackles and 2 interceptions, including the game-winning interception on the last play of the game in overtime. He picked off Josh Allen, sealing victory for the Minnesota Vikings. So congratulations to the Vikings on their, I'm going to call it, I don't care what the record says, I'm going to call it an upset over the Buffalo Bills. Perhaps we see these two teams playing in the Super Bowl this year. Who knows? But Vikings clean sweep for offensive and defensive players of the week. Congratulations to Justin Jefferson and Patrick Peterson. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe to the channel, like the video. I have been Hunter Wright. This has been Sports Done Right, and we will see you next week.